really is a nice facility. We also have a really nice science museum down by the convention center, and right beside that is a place we call Heritage Park, which has a lot of restored homes. They saved these homes from destruction or whatnot and moved them down to this Heritage Park, and different groups restored them. So there's one that was restored by the Czech Society and one that was restored by this group and that group. And it's very interesting if you like that kind of thing. We put a lot of effort into it city-wise too, so I think it looks real pretty down there. And I won't bore you with any more commercials about Corpus Christi, but we're really glad you're here. And again, I thank you for bringing them, and I hope that you will consider coming back sometime. We are really at a growing point in Corpus Christi. We're very different than we were 5 years ago, and in 5 years from now, we have an awful lot of things coming online that are going to make us pretty unique. You would have thought that before this, with what we've got to offer here, that we would have been a tourist city, but we never were. We were strictly oil and gas related, and when that fell, we had to change our thinking and diversify. So I hope you have a wonderful time here. I have to go to something else at 8, and so I'm not going to be able to stay. And I'm sorry if you were counting on me to stay for dinner, because had I known, if I told you what I was going to, you'd know that I would rather stay and have dinner with such a nice group. But that's not the way the mayor's life is. So again, thank you very much for coming in and for inviting me over here to welcome you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the honor, Mary. Just a few things to say about tomorrow morning at 8:30, the bus will be out in front here to take us to the King Ranch. We'll be there most of the day. There'll be some walking, not all that much, because we'll be riding around in the bus and they'll explain the ranch to us as much as they can. We'll stay there and have a big barbecue. After the barbecue, we'll visit the saddle shop where they make the handmade saddles and so forth, and the museum, then get back here about 3:30. I've modified the program from what the letter showed about the boat ride. Reason being, I had problems lining up the proper transportation and not knowing whether we'd have enough cars amongst us to haul us all down there or whatever. We can still take the bus and take the boat ride in the afternoon if you like. I've transferred those funds over to going through the museum, which is a short walk down there. You've seen it. And we go there at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. So if you can be ready at 8:30 to board the bus, we'll get going. And about 9:30 or quarter to 10, it takes about 10 minutes to walk down to the aquarium, right? Like everybody else, I'm beginning to lose it a little bit. Thank you very much. Let's eat, huh? Whoever wants to get started. Harris, do you have anything to say now? Jack? George? He's a doer, not a talker. So let's eat. Oh, hold it. The most important part. We need to give a blessing for the fact that we are here and happy and healthy and wealthy, and Everett Lukenbach is going to give us a little prayer.
Please keep your seats, bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we ask that blessing on this reunion of the French training section, both regiments. We ask that you remember especially those of us who have parted from this life. And we ask also that you be with all those who are still with us but are unable to be present at this time, wheresoever they may be. We ask that what we do may be found acceptable in thy sight. All of these things we ask in thy holy name. Amen.
Well, can I shut that thing off? Yeah. Thank you.
He's going to wear it out.
There's 2 hours of it on there yet.
At our first reunion in Lorain, Ohio, if you remember, our main subject of conversation basically was what we did in the war and so forth. When we got to Wisconsin, George and Marge did such a marvelous job, and they set us up for the idea of what we had done from the war to that point, how we made our living and how we progressed, how many children, and so forth. Tonight, I'm changing all of that, and it's rather late now, but anybody that would like to state, I think this is the most positive group outside of my church group that I've ever been in. But we're positive thinkers, because I don't think there's any of us under 70 here, maybe one or two. Anybody under 70? Yeah. Here, all these girls are under 70. I'm sorry. Well, anyhow, with a positive group like this, I'll start it out by saying we get 3 minutes apiece maximum, because it's getting late. But what our plans are and how we're going to spend our grandkids' inheritance. Jerry and I have planned, and we're leaving on November the 2nd to go to Holland and Germany to visit her two granddaughters, one in the Air Force in Holland and one in the Army in Germany. And that's the way we're going to try to spend what we can now to get it so the kids won't get it. Let them earn their own damn money. Or anybody would like to speak up? Yeah, Waxman, we haven't heard from you yet. That's right, you weren't at the last two reunions.
I'll tell you, this is really astounding.
Oh yeah.
My name is Monroe Waxman, and I must say that I really have enjoyed this video. I am astounded at the total air of respectability.
Move over a little bit.
I'm astounded at the air of respectability and achievements that this group has gotten. I have never thought in my wildest dreams that a disreputable bunch like the 6834th Rearmament Regiment would turn out this good. It was a wild ride when it lasted in France, as you all know. Well, I guess I didn't get a chance to go through the life stories, so I got back in 45, a little better than when we went, and monkeyed around a little bit. I had a university degree, but I felt I had to go back to school and improve on it. I went back and took some review courses, and then I wound up taking an engineering program. And then I was persuaded to go in to a little bit higher education, and I eventually got a doctorate with the financial help of the GI Bill and my wife. And that was in 1952, I then went to Shell Oil Company as a research scientist. And I've worked for them for about 35 years in a wide variety of research projects, most of them very fundamental research, a few applied, very applied in some wells, but largely very fundamental research. I spent a year in Holland in the Shell laboratories by invitation, and I retired in '87 and worked for another year as a consultant, research consultant for some other projects. Now I'm permanently retired. And Edith and I travel around. We look at birds. Edith is a great birding fanatic, and we enjoy our kids. We have a boy and a girl. The boy is a man with two boys. My daughter is a lawyer in Phoenix, and my son is a physician not far from here in Temple, Texas. And we travel. We live simply, read a lot, listen to music, eat good food, and drink a lot of wine. And those are basically my plans for the future. Okay?
Thank you, Monroe. You know, funny thing about it is that he said he worked for Shell Research. The first buddy I had when I moved into my house in Houston, the man across the street from me was a man named Gil Flanagan. He was their research expert. And it turns out that Monroe had been working with him all those years and been out to his house, and we never got together. That's very strange. But Gil Flanagan, we tried to get him to come down here as a guest of Monroe or myself, and we couldn't make it this time. His wife died about, on my birthday, October 20th, 19... 89, 1989, wasn't it? Yeah. So, anyone else now? I'm timing it. Any of the ladies like to speak up? I'm sure you've got plans for your future. Marge, how about you? Well, there's nobody other than Monroe that wasn't here last year. One other thing I'd like to do is if we can get somebody out of this group to handle it for our next reunion. If you notice on your pins, it says 68th 34th Rearmament Regiment Reunion. I didn't put a place or a date on there so that I can turn that stamp over to whoever wants to do it for next year. They'll have it.
That'll help a lot.
But if there's any volunteers,
Well, we're talking about Arizona.
I have several things to
Get that house going.
pull that out there.
Charlie, get up here and talk to us here. Got 3 minutes.
Well, folks, that's about what it is, just thoughts. Because I don't know, I've got such, after following the Pinus's party, and this one here, I kind of feel bad that I don't believe I can compete. And I don't want to get beat. We do live in a beautiful state, believe it or not, Arizona. There's a lot more than desert in Arizona. There's a lot to be seen. There's the Grand Canyon, about 160 miles north of us. There's the Oak Creek Canyon, where I'm trying to work out a situation. But I suppose if we get into Sedona, anybody ever been in Sedona? There's a beautiful place there in Sedona, duck. There's a beautiful place there in Sedona, and it's not too far from the Grand Canyon. If we can find living facilities, I have a cousin who operates a Rainbow Trout Farm. We can go there and catch our own banquet. And Margaret knows how to cook that trout. It's really good. Everybody cook their own. He's got the barbecue grills and so forth out there. But he also has places where big church groups. But there we all have to bunk in single bunks. I don't know how that's fit with you older folks, but us young kids could take it yet. Well, as I say, that's about all it is. It's in the planning. And another thing we have going, we do belong to these camp places that has the facilities. Rather, I could swing the deal and meet there and use their recreation hall or something like that as a meeting place like this. I don't know that. I'll have to continue to think. What are we going to do? Well, Margaret and I do travel a lot. As you know, that the last time I seen most of you, we put on about, I don't know how many thousand miles it was around the East Coast. Stopped off and seen some of these fellows who treated us real royally. And let's see, there was Lieutenant Longest, and what's your name back there? Jack Lomas. And so forth, who took us out, and we had a very good meal. It's 3 minutes up.
Okay.
Well, one of my ambitions after this is to get that dadgum floor on.
Well, I hope that was a statement of volunteering for our next reunion. If that be the case, I will add my expertise as best I can with this computer that Jerry hates so violently. I can take your longhand letters and put them into print and make copies and all of that. And of course, I'm sure Harris will put his expertise together to getting the mailing out. And our main goal for our next reunion should be one main thing, and that is to try to get the interest of all of the rest of them. There's so many of them that I've talked to on the phone many times. I talked to Gambacardo just 2 days ago, and he said he was probably going to try to get down here. Well, probably crap. I have a little story for George Pinus, if you don't mind. I think I let him know. Do you mind?
I don't know what you're talking about. Just keep it clean.
Well, it's a little, it's clean, but it's, come see, come saw.
Right one?
Well, there was a couple old duffers like us, you know, about 82 years old out on the golf course, and they got paired together. They didn't know each other before. But they got around, they were putting wind and got around to the 18th hole, and then one said to the other, would you do me a big favor and take my clubs back into the clubhouse and leave them for me? He said, why, sure, I'd be happy to, but why? What's the big hurry? He said, I got to get home and make love to my wife. And he said, my God, can't that wait? No, it can't. We got to make love tonight, too. So the guy said, well, all right, I'll do it on one condition. If you tell me what's your secret? He said, well, I eat a lot of rye bread. So the guy went and he took the golf clubs in, and he run right out to his car, jumped in the car, went to the supermarket, got a cart, went over to the bread counter or bread aisle, grabbed every loaf of rye bread he could get in that cart and just piled it up high. And he got to the checkout counter, and the girl was checking it out one after the other. She said, my goodness, what are you going to do with all that rye bread? He says, well, I'm going to eat it. She said, don't you know that it's going to be as hard as a rock in about 3 days? God darn, everybody knows about rye bread but me. Now, if there's anybody else that wants to follow that, or that we can get to volunteer to pitch in there and help for next year, or our next reunion, whenever it may be.
That sounds more like the rearmament regiment.
That's right. That's the rearmament regiment I knew. I don't know if any of you remember some of those filthy songs we used to sing. I remember them all because I've got that type of memory where Jerry is astounded every night that for our first 5 years of marriage I'd come up with a different little ditty, a parody or whatever, because I just don't forget them.
Well, I was afraid you guys had become respectable.
Yeah. I'm sure we have. We're getting to that point. But anyone else now? Any of the wives or young ladies here? Coffee? Coffee also made a film, and I'll show it if you'd like to see some more.
Is it pornographic or is it?
No, it's of last year's reunion. But again, he was the first-time user of it. I'm sure he's changed quite a bit since then, too. If that's it, then we'll close for the night. Thank you all for coming. And tomorrow morning, don't forget, at 8:30, the bus will be here. We'll load the bus, and it'll be about an hour trip down to the King Ranch. At the King Ranch, I've been through it myself, and it's a very enjoyable trip. It's a famous ranch. You've got literature in your little folder. You can read about it, and I'm sure it's going to be a nice trip. So we'll see you in the morning, 8:30. Thank you.
It's blinking.
And that's the Pinuses.
I think so. I think he's
I don't hear your commentary.
He sticks up anything he wants later.
salt in it than the kidneys can excrete, then the body starts giving up water from its tissue to dilute that salt. And that's what kills you. That's what we call this. So out in the ocean, you just don't drink ocean water because of the salt part. So the animals will miss that. Now, you may think you do.
Howdy, Dr. Andrews.
Look at that black.
Oh, look, he got into some millions of.
But animals haven't had to come to
I'd
here
never,
for water. They're not
never
happy
shot it, killed two. No. When the pellets hit the water, you can see them scatter. The coop was gone.
But it's gradually getting salty. Up that bad. And then once every 10 years you get enough rain for it to start moving this way. Also, this was naturally salty. All of this country was under salt water.
I can't find them.
Is that mesquite or yes, it is?
How comes it down?
Yeah, we could French fry that and I'll tell you that was really easy.
Yeah, he's pouring.
Like we did in the ocean.
Yeah.
Do you want me to hold that thing and get you in it a little bit?
There, I think you got it that time. Come here. I'll try. I got a couple of you. Get over there. I'll try it. Our camera. So I just bought one of these.
Disposable cups.
I don't know. They ship some other things in to make
You gonna get him coming out of the outhouse?
It isn't? Oh, it isn't.
Back there he said that was hangar 1. This is hangar 2.
This thing in the water here, this yellow thing, is what's called a boom. Because of the interest in preventing oil in the water, you gotta get him out of that during the whole blockade evolution. $5 came back to Jacksonville, offloaded all of in the 50s. Steve. Hangar Bay 1 here, I pointed out a lot of asbestos in the case, plumbing and so on, back to the road side. That's a steam arrangement. We got the boilers at the top of the roof. Well, it's a, there's a thing called a shuttle.
Through their first year of life. In an attempt to improve those odds, the brief freedom of some hatchlings meet of years, many sea turtles face extinction. At sea, they are hunted for their meat, skins, and shells. Since they breathe air, Turtles are vulnerable to fishing nets, in which they get tangled and drown. Sea turtles are also threatened on land, where the females must return to lay their leathery white eggs. Wild animals often plunder the nests, and humans too find turtle eggs a delicacy. Finally, sea turtle nesting sites are being lost to coastal development. Are we driving these majestic creatures away? Only 50 years ago, as this rare footage shows, the Kemp's Ridley sea turtle was abundant along Mexico's Gulf Coast. 40,000 turtles came ashore to nest in a single day. This phenomenal massing of female Ridleys is called an arrabada, which means arrival in Spanish. Today, fewer than 600 breeding females survive, and the same stretch of beach is practically deserted during the late spring nesting season. When the tracks of a female are seen, they often lead to a nest already looted by coyotes, skunks, or raccoons. But a major effort is underway to save the Ridleys, now the most endangered of all sea turtles. It begins here on a beach in Mexico, where freshly laid eggs have been dug up and reburied inside a protected corral. A team of Mexican and American scientists has set up camp in Rancho Nuevo to ensure that the eggs hatch safe from predators. After about 2 months, the first hatchlings dig their way up into the night air. The scientists take turns checking the nests. They, like the hatchlings, are thankful to avoid the intense heat of the daytime Mexican sun. Each nest yields about 75 healthy hatchlings. Few would have reached this stage without the protection of the enclosure. At dawn, before the sun grows too hot, the hatchlings are allowed to scamper across the sand to the waiting ocean. This simple step is vitally important. Scientists speculate that the smell or taste...
I'm so sorry, Jay. You did a great job.
Yeah,
I was going to say, your next competition is actually a season. It starts in October?
that's correct.
What enables the adult... For now, the concern is with the immediate dangers they face as they enter the water. Birds flock overhead in anticipation of an easy meal, and other predators await them in the Gulf. Normally, only 1% of the hatchlings will survive through their first year of life. In an attempt to improve those odds, the brief freedom of some hatchlings meets with human intervention. The hatchlings they've netted will now become subjects in an experiment to boost the survival rate of the turtles beyond the hatchling stage. The first step is to pack the hatchlings into boxes. They're about to make a trip to Texas. They're loaded onto a waiting helicopter for a flight that will take them to a special turtle nursery in Galveston, where they will begin the Head Start program, another U.S.-Mexican joint effort. The key to hatchling survival in the wild is size. The bigger the turtle, the less chance it has of being eaten. So here at the Head Start program, the hatchlings are raised on trout pellets for 9 months, until they're large enough to survive most predators. To keep them strong, they are regularly given a workout in a tank of flowing water, a kind of turtle treadmill. This turtle displays a white dot on its shoulder, a small graft from its light underside that harmlessly marks it for later identification. And now the time has come to return the turtles to the ocean. They'll be taken miles from shore into deep Gulf waters. They've been protected through their most vulnerable stages. Now they're about to be launched with an unceremonious belly flop. These young turtles may be the best hope for the survival of the species.
Got
Oh, you gotta go down there. Get off! Sicky.
Come on out in the road. Run in the road and around.
You know, I don't know what the hell their name is.
Hi, Dottie.
I've heard a lot about you.
Oh, you have?
I've been
Hi, good to see you
handing
again.
him to let's go see him, and then we drove by several times and we weren't
And
here.
nobody here.
We were here.
We
were
were
here.
here.
Oh, were you? Well, he